Hello, it's KMO Hiker here, and this is an update video for my older video or previous video about British Army windproof smock with a Goretex liner, and some of you asked that, okay, what do I think about the smock now that I have used it more or less more, and has my opinion changed? Now, yes, it has. The original video was done after maybe owning the smock for two weeks, and I did very light exercise and went out in a very light rain. That worked perfectly. It was very good smock, and you know, in that aspect. And then I went for a longer trips with, of course, normal heavy rucksack. Went 6 or 7 hours per day, and then it turns out that the windproof smock isn't that good if you have a liner with it. Now, do I own the smock anymore? No, I don't. I sold it away about 6 months ago, and I haven't used it for, let's say, last 2 years at all. Now, of course, it depends on what you are actually getting the smock for. So basically, if you are doing static stuff, you basically go to the local supermarket to buy milk, you go hunting or you go shooting where you have quite a lot of the static stuff, or if you are walking short distances and you have light load, and especially if you can go to a, let's say, 1-day trip, so you go to a cottage and then a cottage where you can try it after every interval or day trip, yeah, then it works quite fine. And especially in those kind of situations, you don't have a heavy load. So yeah, it makes sense in that way. And of course, if you are basically just doing paintball and that kind of stuff where you have exercise 2 hours, it makes completely sense, because the liner is then protected with the heavy canvas, so you don't accidentally broke it, and it looks good and it's functional and yari, all that happy jazz. Now the problem is that when I go hiking, it's usually longer trips with heavy rucksack, it's heavy work, and I tend to sweat a lot. I don't know about other people. Do I just sweat more than others, or yeah? So what happens with the windproof smock with the liner is that of course, because you have a Goretex liner, it doesn't breathe as much as a normal smoke. The cool thing about windproof smoke that it's quite windproof, and it breathes very well, and in a small, let's say, light rain, it's still quite it's quite waterproof, and especially if you have treated the outer material, so it's water repellent. So it works in a hiking quite well even without any liner. But now that you add the liner into it, it doesn't breathe basically at all. It's basically like wearing any kind of Goretex jacket, except my experience is that, let's say, if you take the PCS version, the lightweight British Goretex jacket, that breathes much better than the Goretex lined windproof smock. So basically what happens is that it accumulates sweat and moisture inside the jacket, and after 1 day of heavy hiking or whatever you are doing, if it's heavy exercise, you tend to get quite wet inside, and that's never a good thing. Especially like if you are basically never making fire like me, and I never go basically inside. So if I go outside, it's 1 week exposure and that's it. So I have to dry my clothing and myself in the sun or keep moving. So that's a problem if it accumulates sweat inside. So this is basically a situation where you don't have any kind of rain, so you get wet anyhow. Now there's also a problem that normally windproof smock have 2 large chest pockets, and in the Goretex lined version the one is missing, and the other one is way smaller than the original pockets. Yeah, so you have less storage space. And of course, it's basically the outer material is polycotton. So if it gets wet, it well absorbs the moisture, and windproof smock is a relatively heavy jacket as it is, but if it gets wet, it's more heavy. And when this gets wet with the line version, of course, it tends to get really uncomfortable, because the outer liner is then completely soaked. Let's say if you are spending 6 hours in the pouring rain, the outer material is basically wet. When it stops raining, well, you are still, from the outer material, it is basically still very wet, and especially like in the fall and spring, cold summer night, it gets really cold really easily. So yeah, you are wet from the outside, wet from the inside, and you are not really that comfortable. So in that aspect, it's not as comfortable or practical than having a normal windproof smock for walking and hiking when it's just raining. And when it gets raining, I much rather have this PCS Goretex jacket, or then I have my heavyweight British Army Goretex jacket, and so this basically has the front pocket. So yeah, makes much sense. Of course, if you would have the light version, it's still lighter than having a smock and a Goretex jacket or a liner. But yeah, but maybe you should go to a gym and train a little bit, so you can actually carry one 500 grams extra weight. So yeah, but of course, like if you are doing lightweight stuff, it's a very good jacket, and especially if you can go indoors and dry your clothes a little bit. But for I would say for extended exposure, it's not that good. And also I read from the interwebs that British Army has also figured out that it's not probably the best idea to have the smock with the Goretex liner. So for my kind of exercise, I don't really recommend it, but I do recommend it for lighter exercise and for posing and I don't know, playing paintball and airsoft. And in that aspect, it's perfect. So I hope this video answers some of your questions. So yeah, if you have more questions about my videos, just send me questions, and remember to subscribe and click like and yeah, all that. So bye.